So here we are, finally finished the cabinet today. So yeah, that's a day to remember. I'm really pleased with the way it's all turned out. It's looking quite nice, I think. What we've done, we've used oak and piranha pine. Basically, I was just using up pieces of timber I'd got in the workshop, so these are all just offcuts really, and it's you know, the way it's all come together, the grain, you see that's the piranha, and we've got the oak, and I think it contrasts really nicely, and we get some beautiful figures in the oak sometimes when we see these nice patterns. I think there's some on this the other side here as well, you know. It's a lovely figured oak, that, and the way they get that really, it's when it's been cut. The proper name is tangentially actually, and what they do when they cut down the trunk, they cut it straight down the centre, and then they turn it on the quarter, and you quarter sawing the trunk through the rip saw, and it gives you this lovely figured oak. Sometimes you can see it really nicely on the front here as well, and it's a very expensive way of cutting oak, but when they do that, it brings these wonderful patterns out. And sometimes when you look at old antique furniture, you can see that figured oak in it, and that's how it's been cut down. Mostly when they saw trees down, they just sort of saw them through and through and through, and you get this sort of grain, which is still very nice, of course. But when they get this figured oak, it's cut tangentially, and that's what gives this lovely character in it. I think it's worked out really nice. I'm quite pleased with that, to be honest. Yeah, I've done all the inside now, so that's good. I've got those little buttons on the top there, holding the top in nice and firmly, so that's all good. So we'll just sort the drawers out, finish putting the handles on, and I think we'll be about there. Yeah, just looking at the bottom, we've just put a nice bit of green baize in there just to tidy that up, and it makes it look really professional. And then of course we need to put a little pad of that same green baize, one in each corner. It just what it does, see, when I take this down to my mate and he sticks it on top of his IKEA desk and it rubs about, it's going to start scratching his desktop, and he's going to be a bit mad with me, no doubt. So that is remedied just by putting them little pads on there. That's the idea, and it just stops anything. If you've got ornaments and whatever on tops of shelves and desks, put a bit of that on, it just stops them scratching any surfaces. So we'll come back and show you the rest in a little while. And just looking at the back, how we've finished that off really nice, I think. And again, even though it's the back, we could have left it as just the MDF panel that's in there that keeps it square, but both inside and out, I've manufactured and machined some oak strips up and then planted them on, and it gives a real nice finish. So even if anyone looks at the back or looks at the cabinet inside, it's oak and oak and oak everywhere, even though we have got some man-made boards in there. You know, it's good to use man-made boards these days, especially making cabinets, because they don't move, and of course they keep things nice and square, whereas if we just use natural oak, you could get a bit of movement and things start going out of square, then drawers don't fit. So the way to make it look real authentic is to cover that man-made board so nobody really knows it's there, and it's you know, it's got a nice finish again, and we can see that nice figured oak there even on the back again. Look, you see, it gets that real nice pattern in it, and I quite like that myself. But of course they don't do it like that all the time because it's expensive to cut it that way. You get a lot of waste wood when they're doing it, so they just tend to rip the trees down the centre now and just make the oak planks. But again, you can see it on that edge there as well. It just makes real lovely patterns. So yeah, that's good. Well, I've just put the finishing touch on the back, made a nameplate there, signed it Bezalel, engraved that with my Dremel drill. Actually, never used it before, but it's turned out alright, I think. Yeah, Bezalel, unusual word that. If you want to know what that means, you need to have a look in your Bibles if you've got one. Exodus, second book in the Bible, chapter 31, verses 1 through 5, and you'll probably come to realise why I've wrote that word on there. So that's an interesting thing to look at. If you've got time and you want to know what that means, you'll certainly find out. Bearing in mind we've made this old cabinet. We just had this idea of 10 pens in a drawer and 7 drawers, and we've had no plans. We've just made it up as we've gone along, bits of scrap wood I've found in the workshop and what have you. And so I give all credit to Jehovah, because without Jehovah God we'd have none of these skills and not even the materials to produce such things. So there we are then, we've finally finished the vitrine. I don't know what you think. I think it looks pretty well myself. I'm quite pleased. Well, I'm very pleased in fact. I think it's all turned out absolutely wonderful. Really enjoyed making it, and I'm sure when my mate gets it he's going to be really pleased with that. And if he's not, he's got himself a nice bit of kindling wood for the winter. I mean, keep him going for a few hours, that. So whatever is going to benefit, and that's the main thing. And yeah, I'm sure he'll like it. Okay, Smiling Sam, the woodworkman, signing off these videos on this project because we're finished. And if you've got any questions, you want to ask me anything, you can always comment below, and I'm always happy to help out and share my knowledge with people. It's nice to learn from one another. So yeah, take care and thanks for watching. Make him a free pen to put in his vitrine, so that's what we're doing right now. I'm not sure if this is a bit of burr walnut I've got. Could be 100% on that. It's quite a nice detailed grain wood. I have a feeling it's burr walnut, but don't take my word for it. Hopefully it'll turn out right. You know what I do when I make pens? I don't use the pen kits you can buy. I just use the normal biro pen. I take the insert out there, and what I do, I drill a 4mm hole with a long reach 4mm bit right through that wood. In actual fact, the bit's in there now, and that supports it, a bit like a mandrel does in a pen turning kit. And then I just turn the pen how I want to make some sort of shape. And then slide it off the drill and stick this insert straight inside, and they work out quite well then. You ain't got the sort of pen, it's all one piece. So yeah, I've made lots like that, and it's quite if you just want to start making pens without buying all the different gear that's available out there, you can just buy yourself a box of normal biros from Tesco or whatever. And just get yourself a drill bit that fits it. I think it's about a 4mm bit what's in there, but anyway, you can pick one of those up, and then you just insert the drill the piece onto it, you blank onto it, and then just start turning your pen. And if you want to get into that, it's quite a cheap way of starting up without going too far and finding out once you've laid out money on all the stuff and you don't want to do it. So yeah, let's carry on with this and see what happens. use polished mark pens, just a bit of, what is it, wood silk, the non-silicone wood silk, and all I do is just start the lathe going, spray a bit of this on. Job done. There, okay, we'll let that dry 5 minutes, and all we've got to do is just slide that off the drill bit and insert the biro infill, and then we've got ourselves a nice pen that we can stick in the vitrine. And then each one of these turns out individual. You can just make your own shapes up as you go along, and it's just a simple, quick way of making pens without too much expense involved, because all the different stuff you can buy, it can run into the hundreds, and then, like you say, if you don't get on with it in the end, you can spend quite a few bob, and you know, it's all been a waste. But hopefully it'll stir people up to want to try these things. Okay, take care. There we go, all done. Fantastic.